Hare Krishna. Welcome back, everyone, to the live studios, where we're in the process of reading the Bhagavad-gita as it is, and making our little effort, kicking our grain of dust into the beach of Prabhupada's effort to spiritualize this planet. And one of the things that's very important to me, and I think will be becoming more important to others, is the reading of Prabhupada's books, and particularly the reading out loud together in groups of devotees of Srila Prabhupada's books. If you go anywhere, I travel all over the world and give lectures in so many different places. And whenever I ask the question, how many devotees came to Krishna consciousness somehow or other due to Prabhupada's books, invariably it's 100%. Everybody raises their hands. So although the Yuga Dharma is the holy name, and it's definitely what's cleansing our hearts and delivering us, it must be done in conjunction with hearing the Bhagavad-gita submissively and taking up the teachings in our character and in our daily behavior, in how we interact with everything, really. And these are the basics of Krishna consciousness. So anyway, I haven't read out loud yet my offering this year to Srila Prabhupada, but it's all about this. And I was told by Dravida Prabhu that it's a blockbuster. Well, he didn't use that word, but he said it was very powerful. I'm translating the word very powerful into blockbuster, being an editor myself. And so in that offering, I made notes all the way through the Bhagavatam as I was reading it out loud with other devotees, and I made notes. And I found so many places where Prabhupada made this point again and again and again, how much he wanted us to read these books out loud, to each other. So this is Prabhupada's mission, the combination of Nam Sankirtan and the recitation of Bhagavad-gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially these books. I can recommend a good book to even give you further evidence, and that's a book written by my godbrother Yogeshwar Prabhu called Swami in a Strange Land. If you read that book, it has so many examples of things that Srila Prabhupada said and did leading up to his coming to America even, what to speak of after he was in the United States. And in that offering, my offering this year, I found one excerpt from one of Prabhupada's lectures in which he was talking specifically about this subject. And in the middle of the lecture, he said, Yogeshwar likes to read these books. And it was in 1974 when he began to detect that devotees weren't reading them. They were distributing them, but they weren't reading them so much. So 1974, there's a lot of evidence of him making these points in many different places that he was traveling to. So anyway, I'm going to send my offering to Yogeshwar, so he gets the ecstasy of that. Okay, so we're going deeper into the Gita. We're getting halfway through the 16th chapter. So welcome aboard, all of you out there in cyberspace. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting me spiritually in this endeavor. I made a vow, and I wrote it down, and it will be in my offering this year, to read, live stream Prabhupada's books every day out loud for the rest of my life. So it's a big vow, so I need your love and your support. Okay, first things we do every day is we recite Srila Prabhupada's Mangalacharna prayers to the Bhagavad-gita as it is. And this is what creates an auspicious atmosphere in our minds so that we can actually hear it submissively. It goes like this. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam stapitam jena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapadantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada, who established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Garun Vaishnavang Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, and under the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother, Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhara, Srivasa, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. O my dear Krishna, ocean of mercy, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the cowherd men and the lover of the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my obeisances to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasa, and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Reading from Bhagavad-gita, as it is, chapter 16, the divine and demoniac natures, beginning with text 17. Atma sambhavitak stabda dhanamana madanvitaha yajante nama jagyaistute dhammena vidipurvakam. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations. Purport. Thinking themselves all in all, not caring for any authority or scripture, the demoniac sometimes perform so-called religious or sacrificial rites. And since they do not believe in authority, they are very impudent. This is due to illusion caused by accumulating some wealth and false prestige. Sometimes such demons take up the role of preacher, mislead the people, and become known as religious reformers or as incarnations of God. They make a show of performing sacrifices, or they worship the demigods, or manufacture their own God. Common men advertise them as God and worship them, and by the foolish they are considered advanced in the principles of religion or in the principles of spiritual knowledge. They take the dress of the renounced order of life and engage in all nonsense in that dress. Actually, there are so many restrictions for one who has renounced this world. The demons, however, do not care for such restrictions. They think that whatever path one can create is one's own path. There is no such thing as a standard path one has to follow. The word avidipurvakam, meaning a disregard for the rules and regulations, is especially stressed here. These things are always due to ignorance and illusion. Text 18. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam chasangtritaha mam atma paradeheshu pradvishanto bisuyakaha. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. Purport. A demoniac person, being always against God's supremacy, does not like to believe in the scriptures. He is envious of both the scriptures and the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is caused by his so-called prestige and his accumulation of wealth and strength. He does not know that the present life is a preparation for the next life. Not knowing this, he is actually envious of his own self as well as of others. He commits violence on other bodies and on his own. He does not care for the supreme control of the personality of Godhead because he has no knowledge. Being envious of the scriptures and the supreme personality of Godhead, he puts forward false arguments against the existence of God and denies the scriptural authority. He thinks himself independent and powerful in every action. He thinks that since no one can equal him in strength, power, or wealth, he can act in any way and no one can stop him. Memo to Trump. If he has an enemy who might check the advancement of his sensual activities, he makes plans to cut him down by his own power. Sound familiar? Text 19. Tan aham dvishachakruran samsareshu naradaman jipam yajashram ashubhan asuri shvevajonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that the placing of a particular individual soul in a particular body is not the prerogative of prerogative of the supreme will. The demoniac person may not agree to accept the supremacy of the Lord, and it is a fact that he may act according to his own whims, but his next birth will depend upon the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not on himself. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, it is stated that an individual soul, after his death, is put into the womb of a mother, where he gets a particular type of body under the supervision of superior power. Therefore, in the material existence, we find so many species of life, animals, insects, men, and so on. All are arranged by the superior power. They are not accidental. As for the demoniac, it is clearly said here that they are perpetually put into the wombs of demons, and thus they continue to be envious, the lowest of mankind. Such demoniac species of men are held to be always full of lust, always violent and hateful, and always unclean. The many kind of hunters in the jungle are considered to belong to the demoniac species of life. Text 20. Asurim yonamapana mudha janmani mam aprapyaiva kaunteya tatoyan adamam gatim. Attaining repeated birth and death, attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demoniac life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. Purport. It is known that God is all merciful, but here we find that God is never merciful to the demoniac. It is clearly stated that the demoniac people, life after life, are put into the wombs of similar demons, and, not achieving the mercy of the Supreme Lord, they go down and down, so that at last they achieve bodies like those of cats, dogs, and hogs. It is clearly stated that such demons have practically no chance of receiving the mercy of God at any stage of later life. In the Vedas also it is stated that such persons gradually sink to become dogs and hogs. It may be then argued in this connection that God should not be advertised as all-merciful if he is not merciful to such demons. In answer to this question, in the Vedanta Sutra we find that the Supreme Lord has no hatred for anyone. The placing of the asuras, the demons, in the lowest status of life is simply another feature of his mercy. Sometimes the asuras are killed by the Supreme Lord, but this killing is also good for them, for in the Vedic literature we find that anyone who is killed by the Supreme Lord becomes liberated. There are instances in history of many asuras, Ravana, Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, to whom the Lord appeared in various incarnations just to kill them. Therefore God's mercy is shown to the asuras if they are fortunate enough to be killed by him. Text 21. Trividam narakasyedam dvadam nashanamatmanaha kama krodastata lobas tasmat etat trayam jajet. There are three gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Purport. The beginning of demoniac life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down to the species of demoniac life must try to give up these three enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. Text 22. Etar vimukta konteya tamodvaraistabir tribir naraha acharyat manakshayas acharat manakshayas tato yati padam gatim. The man who has escaped these three gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. Purport. One should be very careful of these three enemies to human life: lust, anger, and greed. The more a person is freed from lust, anger, and greed, the more his existence becomes pure. Then he can follow the rules and regulations enjoined in the Vedic literature. By following the regulated principles of human life, one gradually raises himself to the platform of spiritual realization. If one is so fortunate by such practice to rise to the platform of Krishna consciousness, then success is guaranteed to him. The whole method is based on giving up lust, greed, and anger. By cultivating knowledge of this process, one can be elevated to the highest position of self-realization. This self-realization is perfected in devotional service. In that devotional service, the liberation of the conditioned soul is guaranteed. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, there are instituted the 4 orders of life and the 4 statuses of life, called the caste system and the spiritual order system. There are different rules and regulations for different castes or divisions of society, and if a person is able to follow them, he will be automatically raised to the highest platform of spiritual realization. Then he can have liberation without a doubt. Text 23. Yak shastra vidimutridja vartate kamakarataha nasasidhim avapnoti nasukam naparam gatim. He who disregards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. Purport. As described before, the Shastra Vidhi, or the direction of the Shastra, is given to the different castes and orders of human society. Everyone is expected to follow these rules and regulations. If one does not follow them and act whimsically according to his lust, greed, and desire, then he never will be perfect in his life. In other words, a man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he is to be known as the lowest of mankind. In the human form of life, a living entity is expected to be sane and to follow the regulations given for elevating his life to the highest platform. But if he does not follow them, then he degrades himself. But even if he follows the rules and regulations and moral principles and ultimately does not come to the stage of understanding the Supreme Lord, then all his knowledge becomes spoiled. And even if he accepts the existence of God and he does not engage himself in the service of the Lord, his attempts are spoiled. Therefore, one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness and devotional service. It is then and there that he can attain the highest perfectional stage, not otherwise. The word kama karata is very significant. A person who knowingly violates the rules acts in lust. He knows that this is forbidden, but still he acts. This is called acting whimsically. He knows that this should be done, but still he does not do it. Therefore he is called whimsical. Such persons are destined to be condemned by the Supreme Lord. Such persons cannot have the perfection which is meant for the human life. The human life is especially meant for purifying one's existence, and one who does not follow the rules and regulations cannot purify himself, nor can he attain the real stage of happiness. Text 24. Tasmach chastram pramanam te karya vyavastitao gyatva shastra vinanoktam karmakartum iharasi. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. Purport. As stated in the 15th chapter, all the rules and regulations of the Vedas are meant for knowing Krishna. If one understands Krishna from the Bhagavad-gita and becomes situated in Krishna consciousness, engaging himself in devotional service, he has reached the highest perfection of knowledge offered by the Vedic literature. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this process very easy. He asked people simply to chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and to engage in the devotional service of the Lord and eat the remnants of foodstuff offered to the deity. One who is directly engaged in all these devotional activities is to be understood as having studied all Vedic literature. He has come to the conclusion perfectly. Of course, for the ordinary persons who are not in Krishna consciousness, or who do not engage or not engaged in devotional service, what is to be done and what is not to be done must be decided by the injunctions of the Vedas. One should act accordingly, without argument. That is called following the principles of Shastra or Scripture. Shastra is without the four principal defects that are visible in the conditioned soul: imperfect senses, the propensity for cheating, certainty of committing mistakes, and certainty of being illusioned. These four principal defects in conditioned life disqualify one from putting forth rules and regulations. Therefore, the rules and regulations, as described in the Shastra, being above these defects, are accepted without alteration by all great saints, acharyas, and great souls. In India, there are many parties of spiritual understanding, generally classified as two: the impersonalist and the personalist. Both of them, however, lead their lives according to the principles of the Vedas. Without following the principles of the scriptures, one cannot elevate himself to the perfectional stage. One who actually, therefore, understands the purport of the Shastras is considered fortunate. In human society, aversion to the principles of understanding the personality of God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the cause of all fall downs. That is the greatest offense of human life. Therefore, Maya, the material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always giving us trouble in the shape of the threefold miseries. This material energy is constituted of the three modes of material nature. One has to raise himself to the mode of goodness before the path to understanding the Supreme Lord can be opened. Without raising oneself to the standard of the mode of goodness, one remains in ignorance and passion, which are the cause of demoniac life. Those in the mode of passion and ignorance deride the scriptures, deride the holy man, and deride the proper understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They disobey the instructions of the spiritual master, and they do not care for the regulations of the scriptures. In spite of hearing the glories of devotional service, they are not attracted. Thus they manufacture their own way of elevation. These are some of the defects of human society which lead to the demoniac status of life. If, however, one is able to be guided by a proper and bona fide spiritual master who can lead one to the path of elevation, to the higher stage, then one's life becomes successful. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 16th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the matter of the divine and demoniac natures. And I'm going to go right on to the 17th chapter because Arjuna asked the great question which comes after this chapter. He asked the perfect question, and Krishna is going to give the perfect answer. Chapter 17, the divisions of faith. There's a little blurb here that comes in the database that isn't in the book, and I'm going to read it. It comes before each chapter. There are three types of faith, corresponding to and evolving from the three modes of material nature. Acts performed by those whose faith is in passion and ignorance yield only impermanent material results, whereas acts performed in goodness, according with scriptural injunctions, purify the heart and lead to pure faith in Lord Krishna and devotion to Him. Text 1. Arjuna uvacha ye shastra vidimutsrija yajante shadayan vitaha tesham nishta tuka Krishna satvam aho rajastamaha. Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of Scripture, but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance? Purport. In the 4th chapter, 39th verse, it is said that a person faithful to a particular type of worship gradually becomes elevated to the stage of knowledge and attains the highest perfectional stage of peace and prosperity. In the 16th chapter, it is concluded that one who does not excuse me, this happened to me when I started to read this afternoon. In the 16th chapter, it is concluded that one who does not follow the principles laid down in the scriptures is called an asura, demon, and one who follows the scriptural injunctions faithfully is called a deva, or demigod. Now, if one with faith follows some rules which are not mentioned in the scriptural injunctions, what is his position? This doubt of Arjun's is to be cleared by Krishna. Are those who create some sort of God by selecting a human being and placing their faith in him, worshipping in goodness, passion, or ignorance? Do such persons attain the perfectional stage of life? Is it possible for them to be situated in real knowledge and elevate themselves to the highest perfectional stage? Do those who do not follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but who have faith in something and worship gods and demigods and men, attain success in their effort? Arjuna is putting these questions to Krishna. Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Tri Vida Bhavati Shraddha Dehinam Sa Subhavaja Satviki Rajasi Chaiva Tamasi Chititam Shrinu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance. Now hear about this. Purport. Those who know the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but out of laziness or indolence, give up following these rules and regulations, are governed by the modes of material nature. According to their previous activities in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, they acquire a nature which is of a specific quality. The association of the living entity with the different modes of nature has been going on perpetually. Since the living entity is in contact with material nature, he acquires different types of mentality according to his association with the material modes. But this nature can be changed if one associates with a bona fide spiritual master and abides by his rules and the scriptures. Gradually, one can change his position from ignorance to goodness, or from passion to goodness. The conclusion is that blind faith in a particular mode of nature cannot help a person become elevated to the perfectional stage. One has to consider things carefully, with intelligence, in the association of a bona fide spiritual master. Thus one can change his position to a higher mode of nature. Text 3. Satvanurupa sarvasya shraddha bhavati bharata shraddha mayo yam purusho yo yach shraddha sa eva saha. O son of Bharata, according to one's existence under various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Purport. Everyone has a particular type of faith, regardless of what he is. But his faith is considered good, passionate, or ignorant according to the nature he has acquired. Thus, according to his particular type of faith, one associates with certain persons. Now the real fact is that every living being, as is stated in the 15th chapter, is originally a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one is originally transcendental to all the modes of material nature. But when one forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes into contact with the material nature and conditional life, he generates his own position by association with the different varieties of material nature. The resultant artificial faith and existence are only material. Although one may be conducted by some impression or some conception of life, originally he is nirguna, or transcendental. Therefore one has to become cleansed of the material contamination that he has acquired in order to regain his relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the only path back without fear, Krishna consciousness. If one is situated in Krishna consciousness, then that path is guaranteed for his elevation to the perfectional stage. If one does not take to this path of self-realization, then he is surely to be conducted by the influence of the modes of nature. The word Shraddha, or faith, is very significant in this verse. Shraddha, or faith, originally comes out of the mode of goodness. One's faith may be in a demigod, or some created god, or some mental concoction. One's strong faith is supposed to be productive of works of material goodness. But in material conditional life, no works are completely purified. They are mixed. They are not in pure goodness. Pure goodness is transcendental. In pure goodness, one can understand the real nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As long as one's faith is not completely in purified goodness, the faith is subject to contamination by any of the modes of material nature. The contaminated modes of material nature expand to the heart. Therefore, according to the position of the heart in contact with a particular mode of material nature, one's faith is established. It should be understood that if one's heart is in the mode of goodness, his faith is also in the mode of goodness. If his heart is in the mode of passion, his faith is also in the mode of passion. And if his heart is in the mode of ignorance, mode of darkness, illusion, his faith is also thus contaminated. Thus we find different types of faith in this world, and there are different types of religions due to different types of faith. The real principle of religious faith is situated in the mode of pure goodness. But because the heart is tainted, we find different types of religious principles. Thus, according to different types of faith, there are different kinds of worship. Prabhupada ki jai. Text 4. Yajante satvika devan yaksha rakshang rajasaha pritan bhutaganang chanye yajante tamasak janaha. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons. And those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. Or tele-evangelicals. Purport. I'm laughing because Ritad Bhajapara sent me a little clip showing like real graphic examples of what's going on today, right now, today in America, and these tele-evangelicals, what they're doing to sap the people of their money. It's absolutely mad. They tell them, just send me some money and I'll send you a seed. Anyway, it's unbelievable. Hare Krishna. Purport. In this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead describes different kinds of worshippers according to their external activities. According to scriptural injunction, only the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipable, but those who are not very conversant with or faithful to the scriptural injunctions worship different objects according to their specific situations in the modes of material nature. Those who are situated in goodness generally worship the demigods. The demigods include Brahma, Shiva, and others such as Chandra, Indra, Chandra, and the sun god. There are various demigods. Those in goodness worship a particular demigod for a particular purpose. Similarly, those who were in the mode of passion worship the demons. We recall that during the Second World War, a man in Calcutta worshipped Hitler because thanks to that war, he had amassed a large amount of wealth by dealing in the black market. Similarly, those in the modes of passion and ignorance generally select a powerful man to be God. They think that anyone can be worshipped as God and the same results will be obtained. And this evangelical thing, now that's called the prosperity, the principle of prosperity. This is a religious principle, and they're all worshiping to become prosperous. That's their only goal. It's all about money. And this one guy got caught. He gave an address to send money, along with a prayer. And then the prayer was supposed to be amplified because they're sending the money to him, and he's praying for them. So what he did was, he just sent it right to the bank. And the people in the bank were just opening up, throwing away the prayers and putting the money in his account. And that's all that was happening. And then eventually he became exposed. But some people just keep giving him money. Because the condition of the general mass of people has become so much in ignorance, passion and ignorance, that they can't get it. They can't understand. Even something like that happens, and this one guy accumulated so much money, he bought himself a $20 million jet airplane. And they had a big, ceremony, and he flew down, and everybody went, "Yay, oh Lord!" This is going on today in America. And then he comes in, and he gives a whole lecture, and he said, "Now I want to get one twice as good." And they gave him enough money to get another one twice as big. And he preached to them, this is just for the mission of the Lord. It's not going to be used for anything else. Next thing you know, some investigator found out he's in Colorado at a skiing thing, and somewhere else doing another thing. And the people are just so stupid because they're in ignorance, so deep, dark ignorance. That's where their faith is. So that's who they worship, and that's what they do. So these things are very practical. This is not just some kind of airy-fairy philosophy. This is going on right now on the earth, these things. And without real knowledge, without coming in contact with the transcendental source of knowledge, you can't understand what's right and what's wrong, what to do and what not to do. Now it is clearly described, I'm going back to the purport now and get off my soapbox, sorry. Now it is clearly described that those who are in the mode of passion worship and create such gods, and those who are in the mode of ignorance, in darkness, worship dead spirits. Sometimes people worship at the tomb of some dead man. Sexual service is also considered to be in the mode of darkness. Similarly, in remote villages in India, there are worshippers of ghosts. We have seen that in India, the lower class people sometimes go to the forest, and if they have knowledge that a ghost lives in a tree, they worship that tree and offer sacrifices. These different kinds of worship are not actually God worship. God worship is for persons who are transcendentally situated in pure goodness. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. When a man is situated in pure goodness, he worships Vasudeva. The purport is that those who are completely purified of the material modes of nature and are transcendentally situated can worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonalists are supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness, and they worship 5 kinds of demigods. They worship the impersonal Vishnu form in the material world, which is known as philosophized Vishnu. Vishnu is the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the impersonalists, because they do not ultimately believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, imagine that the Vishnu form is just another aspect of the impersonal Brahman. Similarly, They imagine that Brahma is the impersonal form in the mode of passion. Thus they sometimes describe 5 kinds of gods that are worshipable, but because they think that the actual truth is impersonal Brahman, they dispose of all worshipable objects at the ultimate end. In conclusion, the different qualities of the material modes of nature can be purified through association with persons who are of transcendental nature. Text 5 and 6. Ashastra vihitam godam tapyante jetapo janaha dambhahankara samyukta kamaraga balanvitaha karshayantak sharirastam bhuttagramam achetasaha mam chaivantak sharirastam tanvidye asuranishtayan. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by lust and attachment, who are foolish, and who torture the material elements of the body, as well as the supersoul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. Purport. There are persons who manufacture modes of austerity and penance, which are not mentioned in the scriptural injunctions. For instance, fasting for some ulterior purpose, such as to promote a purely political end, is not mentioned in the scriptural directions. The scriptures recommend fasting for spiritual advancement, not for some political end or social purpose. Persons who take to such austerities are, according to Bhagavad-gita, certainly demoniac. Their acts are against the scriptural injunctions and are not beneficial for the people in general. Actually, they act out of pride, false ego, lust, and attachment for material enjoyment. By such activities, not only is the combination of material elements of which the body is constructed disturbed, but also the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself living within the body. Such unauthorized fasting or austerities for some political end are certainly very disturbing to others. They are not mentioned in the Vedic literature. A demoniac person may think that he can force his enemy or other parties to comply with his desire by this method, but sometimes one dies by such fasting. These acts are not approved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he says that those who engage in them are demons. Such demonstrations are insults to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are enacted in disobedience to the Vedic scriptural injunctions. The word achetasa is significant in this connection. Persons of normal mental condition must obey the scriptural injunctions. Those who are not in such a position neglect and disobey the scriptures and manufacture their own ways of austerities and penances. One should always remember the ultimate end of the demoniac people, as described in the previous chapter. The Lord forces them to take birth in the wombs of demoniac persons. Consequently, they will live by demoniac principles life after life without knowing their relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If, however, such persons are fortunate enough to be guided by a spiritual master who can direct them to the path of Vedic wisdom, they can get out of this entanglement and ultimately achieve the supreme goal. Text 7. Aharas tvapisarvyasya trivido bhavati priyaha yagyas tapas tatat dhanam tesham bhedam imam shrinu. Even the food each person prefers is of 3 kinds, according to the 3 modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Now hear of the distinctions between them. Purport. In terms of different situations in the modes of material nature, there are differences in the manner of eating and performing sacrifices, austerities, and charity. They are not at all conducted on the same level. Those who can understand analytically what kind of performances or in what modes of material nature are actually wise. Those who consider all kinds of sacrifice or food or charity to be the same cannot discriminate, and they are foolish. There are missionary workers who advocate that one can do whatever he likes and attain perfection. But these foolish guides are not acting according to the direction of the scripture. They are manufacturing ways and misleading the people in general. Text 8. Ayu satvabala rogya sukhapriti vivardanaha rasak snigdak stirahridya aharak satvika priyaha. Foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. Text 9. Katvamla labanat yushna tikshna ruksha vidahinaha ahara rajasasyeshta dukashokamaya pradaha. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease. Text 10. Yat yamam gatarasam puti paryishitam chayat uchchistam apichan medyam bhojanam tamasa priyam. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food consisting of remnants of untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. Do you realize that right now today in America, in some ballparks, baseball or whatever, they actually serve grasshoppers, fried grasshoppers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
In America?
Yes, in America. It's actually becoming acceptable.
Where?
I don't know. I saw it in a little news thing, and other insects, not just.
Crickets and stuff.
Yeah. You've heard about it.
Or chocolate covered crickets.
Yeah.
Chocolate covered ants.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. In America.
Like Asia, they eat all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah, but
Thailand
now.
and China.
That's right. But now we should. Now we can no longer Americans point our nose down at it because they're doing it right now in this country, and it's why this book is so needed, and it's why we worship you guys in the mode of pure goodness for going out there every day and giving these books to these people. Hare Krishna.
Look at this verse here.
Translation. Purport. The purpose of food is to increase the duration of life, purify the mind, and aid bodily strength. This is its only purpose. In the past, great authorities selected those foods that best aid health and increase life's duration, such as milk products, sugar, white, rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables. These foods are very dear to those in the mode of goodness. Some other foods, such as baked corn and molasses, while not very palatable in themselves, can be made pleasant when mixed with milk or other foods. They are then in the mode of goodness. All these foods are pure by nature. They are quite distinct from untouchable things like meat and liquor and grasshoppers and ants and such things. Fatty foods, as mentioned in the 8th verse, have no connection with animal fat obtained by slaughter. Animal fat is available in the form of milk, which is the most wonderful of all foods. Milk, butter, cheese, and similar products give animal fat in a form which rules out any need for the killing of innocent creatures. It is only through brute mentality that this killing goes on. The civilized method of obtaining needed fat is by milk. Slaughter is the way of subhumans. Protein is amply available through split peas, dal, whole wheat, and so on. Foods in the mode of passion, which are bitter, too salty, or too hot, or overly mixed with red pepper. God. Memo to the Indians and among us. Cause misery by reducing the mucus in the stomach, leading to disease. Foods in the mode of ignorance or darkness are essentially those that are not fresh. Any food cooked more than 3 hours before it is eaten, except prasadam, food offered to the Lord, is considered to be in the mode of darkness. Because they are decomposing, such foods give a bad odor, which often attracts people in this mode, but repulses those in the mode of goodness. Remnants of food may be eaten only when they are a part of a meal that was first offered to the Supreme Lord, or first eaten by saintly persons, especially the spiritual master. Otherwise, the remnants of food are considered to be in the mode of darkness, and they increase infection or disease. Such foodstuffs, although very palatable to persons in the mode of darkness, are neither liked nor even touched by those in the mode of goodness. The best food is the remnants of what is offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad-gita, the Supreme Lord says that he accepts preparations of vegetables, flour, and milk when offered with devotion. Patram, pushpam, palam, toyam. Of course, devotion and love are the chief things which the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts. But it is also mentioned that the prasadam should be prepared in a particular way. Any food prepared by the injunctions of the scripture and offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be taken even if prepared long, long ago, because such food is transcendental. Therefore, to make food antiseptic, eatable, and palatable for all persons, one should offer food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's like so obvious. Okay, he's accepting the love. He has hundreds and thousands of goddess of fortune in the spiritual world cooking for him. And the things that they cook are of pure spiritual goodness. There is no, dust and critters and microbes and all these things, which are practically in everything that we try to offer to the Lord from here. So what does he need? Our attar and our rice and our vegetables and whatever, But he's looking for the love, for the affection. So just think of it. If you meet a new person and becomes a good friend, and they ask you over for dinner, and then they ask you, what do you like and what you don't like? And you tell them, then when you go to the house, they serve you everything you said you don't like. Is that, what kind of love do you think that person will have to you? You'll think, this is strange, I'm out of here. Never coming back here again. That's the love. The love means you try to please the person. Try to please the other person. So God tells us in the Gita what he likes. Patram, pushpam, plumdam, so on and so forth. And there's nowhere where he says that he likes meat or fish or eggs or anything of that nature. So therefore, part of, the love that we're offering is what we're offering, things that person likes. That's a part of the affection. It's not completely detached from the offering either. Text 11. Apala lang shibir yagyo vididrishdo cha ijjate yashtavyam iviti manak samadhaya sasatpikaha. Of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the directions of Scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness. Purport. The general tendency is to offer sacrifice with some purpose in mind. But here it is stated that sacrifice should be performed without any such desire. It should be done as a matter of duty. Take, for example, the performances of rituals in temples or in churches. Generally, they are performed with the purpose of material benefit. We gave some good examples earlier. But that is not in the mode of goodness. Once you go to a temple or church as a matter of duty, offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and offer flowers and eatables without any purpose of obtaining material benefit. Everyone thinks that there's no use in going to the temple just to worship God, but worship for economic benefit is not recommended in the scriptural injunctions. One should go simply to offer respect to the deity. That will place one in the mode of goodness. It is the duty of every civilized man to obey the injunctions of the scriptures and offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 12. Abhisandaya tu palam dharmartham apichaiva yat ijjate bharata shrishta tam yangyam vidirajasam. But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of the Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion. Purport. Sometimes sacrifices and rituals are performed for elevation to the heavenly kingdom or some material benefits in this world. Such sacrifices or ritualistic performances are considered to be in the mode of passion. 13. Vidihinam ashrishtanam mantrahinam adakshinam shraddha virahitam yagyam tamasam parichakshate. Any sacrifice performed without regard for the direction of scripture, without distribution of prasadam, spiritual food, without chanting of Vedic hymns and remunerations to the priests, and without faith, is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Purport. Faith is in the mode of darkness. Faith in the mode of darkness or ignorance is actually faithlessness. Sometimes people worship some demigod just to make money and then spend the money for recreation, ignoring the scriptural injunctions. Such ceremonial shows of religiosity are not accepted as genuine. They are all in the mode of darkness. They produce a demoniac mentality and do not benefit human society. There it is, right there in black and white. So, Prabhupada told us, don't become disturbed if not so many people come to this movement. Not at this stage of the human society. Don't be disturbed. Don't ever become discouraged because not many people are coming. The fact that as many people are coming is a miracle, considering what's going on and what the general mass of people are accepting and what the so-called authorities in the world are pushing, down the throats of the people. Very important principle. Just hear Prabhupada's teachings. Take them into your heart and live by them, think by them, feel by them, will by them, act by them, and you will be able to change the hearts of other people when you meet them. That's what the world needs, an army of gurus. Right now, it's so degraded. Now, I'm going to stop here because, it just gave sacrifice in the goodness, passion, and ignorance. Now it's going to go to austerity, which they're very important instructions here. But we're going to wait until tomorrow to go to the other austerity and knowledge, is it? No, that's the next chapter. Anyway, okay, it's time for reflections. Time for either questions or reflections or comments or revelations. Yes, Hannah. Now I'm going to say into the microphone so people from outside can hear this also. So it says. Food in the mode of passion causes misery by reducing mucus in the stomach, leading to disease.
So, by reducing mucus, causing diseases, but it's actually taken by many holistic doctors that mucus causes diseases. Whenever someone has AIDS, do you want to pause?
You know, she's saying that some naturalists now are have proven or something that an increase in mucus causes different disease such as AIDS and other bad things. So I got your point.
So like AIDS coats the skin whenever we have
Yes.
these, or cancers
Yes.
coating the cells with mucus.
Yes.
So why is this? And then
It says that. Let me explain. I understand the question, and it's a good question. It's a very good question. In the body, there is mucus, there's air, and there's bile. These are the three basic constituents of the body. And there's many details. They can be analyzed into different details and broken down further. But these are the basic elements according to Ayurveda. And there's always mucus, there's always bile, and there's always air. So it's not a matter of bringing one down to zero. There's a balance of them. And when the balance of them are true or correct, then the body is in good health. And when they become less or more, and it depends on the disease also, it doesn't depend on just one thing or another, and it also depends on the constitutional, the bodily constitution of the person. It's not that a one-size-fits-all. They have all these now new rules for, things you have to avoid, things you have to take, things you have to do to exercise, things you can't do. And they're trying to make a standard for everybody, but each material body is different. And therefore, Ayurveda, the herbs, the natural herbs and plants that are used in Ayurveda are synthesized by material scientists and by allopathic doctors, and then they use those properties of the herbs, and they extract one property or another from an herb, and then they make a medicine for a particular thing, or a combination of things. But the actual natural medicine is the medicine that keeps the balance of the mucus and the air and the bile in equilibrium, because they're all there and they're all needed. So sometimes it's like if you have a certain disease, like let's say typhoid. Somebody had typhoid last year. Yeah. And you're not supposed to eat, at least at a certain stage of it, or you're supposed to eat very, very less, and just, remember when I was here, I wasn't eating hardly anything, and I had a heavy, 50-day fever, typhoid. Last year, I was here, I almost died. This close I was to leaving my body. Very little blood, water in the blood. When there's no water in the blood, you die. That's it. Finished. So, it's not a matter, this can be misinterpreted, and it needs further explanation. But it's not that we're saying that you have to reduce the mucus in order to nothing, or it's because of an increase in mucus that this is caused or that is caused. There's so many things that are caused by an excess of air, or an imbalance of bile, or an imbalance of mucus.
So if that equilibrium is attained by somebody that practices these things, then why have there been certain people within this that have been affected by certain diseases, and why have these diseases been cured by the reduction of mucus? Maybe a certain amount of mucus is required in the body.
It's Ayurveda. It says in the Ayurveda, reduce the mucus.
Yeah, I know, but for example, like Bhakti Swami, who
You can't avoid disease, no matter who you are.
But
You cannot avoid disease. This is a misconception that if I follow a certain kind of medicine, or if I follow a certain doctor, then I won't have disease. And each one of those doctors are going to die, and they're going to die of disease, every single one of them. That's the proper understanding. You cannot avoid birth, death, old age, and disease in this material world if you have a material body. You can try to reduce it as much as possible, and you do that by the proper standard of living which is given in the Shastras. So sometimes in the West, they make up, and this is what's being described in this chapter, they'll make up things to do, they'll make up ways of doing things, and then they'll try to counteract the effects by another extreme reduction or increase of another activity. And it never stops old age. It never stops the process of old age. It never stops the process of disease. And some diseases sometimes in human society become very prominent, and then sometimes others become prominent. And it's because of all the material adjustments that are people trying to make materially. And Ayurveda is also material. It's not that Ayurveda is a spiritual, principle or a spiritual thing. The Vedas don't have just spiritual knowledge. They have knowledge of everything. And when it says to follow the rules of the scriptures, it means everything. It means medicine. It means military. It means social. It means agriculture. It means education. It means everything. It's all there in the Vedas. And if you get that knowledge and you follow it, then the mode of goodness becomes prominent, and the diseases are reduced. But you can't avoid them altogether, because there's always a mixture, and we'll learn about this in the 18th chapter. Hold on. In the 18th chapter, it will describe about how the modes of nature, I think maybe you've already heard about this, the 14th chapter, how sometimes goodness is prominent, sometimes ignorance is prominent, sometimes passion is prominent, and the other modes become dominated by them. And those modes are always changing, not just within us, but everywhere. They're always changing. So there's individual karma, or the action of what we do to this body and mind, and then there's group karma, and that group karma changes according to the combined actions and reactions of the activities of a group. And you see now that pornography, for instance, these eating anything, trying to change the basic nature of the body by operation, change your sex, or change your this, or change your that. And all these doctors are getting hugely, change your, plastic surgeons to make you look different. And all these things are causing chaos in human society. Overall, if you look at it, and this is what happens when you get spiritual knowledge, and you start acting according to the law of Scripture, you become able to see the thing as a whole, rather than becoming confused by individual apparent successes, which then 10 years down the road, they say, oh, by the way, this new drug that we told you that was going to get rid of this, it's also going to cause that. And that's the nature of material knowledge as opposed to spiritual knowledge. But Arjun says, Krishna says to Arjun, earlier on, I think it's in the 2nd chapter, he says, Trigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistrigunya Bhavarjuna. Try to elevate yourself up out of the modes of nature, and that means goodness, passion, and ignorance, by always offering your food to Krishna according to what he likes, always regulating your senses according to the way he likes. Rise early in the morning, take your bath at least once or twice a day, stay clean, stay regulated, eat pure things, do things that don't degrade your mind, that don't degrade your body and cause unnecessary pain and suffering to your own self, as we just read, and to others. These are passionate and ignorant activities. And when you meet persons who are actually following these things and actually are fixed in these things, then they have a different vibe. They have a completely different vibe. Vibration is different around them. What is that verse? Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvan api lipyate. So this means yoga yukto vishuddhatma, a person who is fixed in yukta, yoga yukta, who's fixed in devotion, and is pure, Vishuddhatma, is living a pure life according to the Vedas. Yoga yukto Indriya Yoga yukto Vishuddhatma Vichitatma Jitendriya, one who controls the senses according to the rules and regulations of nature, Mother Nature, laws of nature. Then, if you do that, if you live purely, if you live simply, and if you are fixed in devotional service, and if you control your senses, regulate them, then what? Sarva bhutatma bhutatma. Then you become dear to others, and others become dear to you. And then when you meet people like that, they will show affection to everyone equally, because they can see the soul. They have spiritual vision and can see the super soul in the heart and the soul in the heart, and they give respect. No matter how old they are, no matter what gender they are, no matter how high they are, no matter how low they are, it doesn't make any difference. Those things are all temporary designations of the body. They have nothing to do with the soul. And then when you meet somebody, that's who always sending me these little things, and there's nectar drifting off of here and there, and all these things. You want to give me a big hug. All those things are coming from the soul in reciprocation to devotional service. So all these details, it's true that sometimes there's a discovery that happens and certain persons use it and certain person gets a result. Another person uses it and they get disaster. No matter how expert a doctor is, even the person who doesn't even look like they're very sick, they die. And people have got horrible disease, they miraculously get cured. People are thinking, it's because of this medicine, it's because of that doctor, whatever. Parents are very attentive to their children and then die. Or they're very attentive and then they go off and do some crazy things. Person works very hard to make money, and he can't make even a living. And another person gets born and all of a sudden he's got, $10 million in his lap, like memo to Trump. Excuse me. I don't mean to just fixate on Trump. He just happens to be in the news a lot. He's all pervading now, so it's like Trump era. So he does tend to come out an example because he's like a pretty classic example, mostly about what not to do in order to make peace and not to spread hate. And we heard about it in the 16th chapter. This hate, this everybody's an enemy. If somebody you have to say something good about me, and if you don't, then I'll crucify you by Twitter or whatever it is that they're going on and doing now. It's just nuts. And therefore the whole country's going nuts. And the young kids, they're learning these things. The young kids, they're learning these things from, they're putting, every time something like this happens, and they put out a whole bunch of video games, that the kids can watch and learn how to, mow down demons or, play a game or do this or do that or whatever, win the war, and the whole thing's going stark raving mad. But to follow the laws of nature mean to follow the laws of God. That's what religion is. It isn't these televangelicals who just do all these crazy things, It was a great question, by the way. It prompted all these things to come out of me because of that question. Fantastic question. What?
I said it's like a flow, but...
It's like a flow. You got that?
But, I
Yeah. Hare Krishna, you're welcome. That's why you're advancing so quickly. Because, an honest person, there's two qualities that you need to hear and to actually absorb spiritual knowledge. And that's to be honest and not to envy. When you see someone who's in a better position, materially or spiritually, whatever, then we should feel happy for that person. And if you're envious, then you feel bad and you try to figure out a way to bring them down and so you can come up over them. And that's the way it is. One time when Prabhupada was, he was in Japan, and he was negotiating the first contract in Dai Nippon to print the Krishna book, which was one of the most beautiful books we ever printed in our movement. And there was a group of executives from Dai Nippon, and they were seated all in a, because Japan, it's like everything's very organized in Japan. So there were business cards stacked in front of each one. So Prabhupada got there early, right? And there was one kind of secretary, the gopher, the person who was like, so he looked at him and he said, "What's the goal? What's your goal in life?" And so he took the cards and he put them on top of one another. And then he took his card, which was in the bottom, and he put it on the top. And smiled. Prabhupada said, "Oh, I see." And that's all it's about. That's all it's about. Whether it be in sports, whether it be in movies, whether it be in politics, whether it be in education, whether it be family, everywhere. That is Kali Yuga. And therefore the word Kali means quarrel. And unless you know how to act and behave to please Krishna, to please the soul, and to please the super soul in the heart, then you're going to be, right now, in this age, in a heap of trouble. And now the percentage of homeless people in the major cities of America are going up like anything. Because it's all trickle-down philosophy, and now what's happening is it's all trickling up. The money's trickling up to the most wealthiest, and therefore they're figuring out how to raise the rents, and keep the wages as low as possible, and the percentage of, bank CEOs at that level, the increase of differentiation in the last 20 years, 750% at least in the CEO level, and no change at the bottom level. And they used to be able to live middle class or upper middle class with this money. And now they can't. They can't pay their rents. And some of them are professional. Some of them are, some of them are two jobs they're doing. And now they're developing technology where there are robots that are taking more of their jobs. And they're thinking it's, I don't know what they think. They think it's the Chinese, or they think it's the whatever it is. But the fact is that it's the technology. The technology is trickling it up and trickling it up. And the people who have higher tech, education, they're getting better, or they have to be at a certain level. And if not, they stay the same. So this is what's going on, and it's going on all over the world, and it's a pattern. Whether it's a democracy, or whether it's communism, or whether it's monarchy, or whatever it is, the same pattern happens. When the general mass of people become, pushed down enough and suffer enough, while a few get everything, eventually they just rise up and they say, "No, we're not going to do this anymore." They will go to the palace, they get the people out, and they chop their heads off. Well, who was it, that famous French queen, or they said, "Let them eat cake," or something like that. Marie Antoinette. "Let them eat cake." Oh, good. They just brought her out, set up the guillotine, and they chopped her head off.
They actually put her in prison for
First.
3 months.
Yeah, first. Yeah. And Americans are thinking, yeah, not us. But now they're just getting, raped, And I'm not talking about just sexual rape. I'm talking about raped in the sense of, getting, exploited and abused. So a heart of a Vaishnava doesn't think like that, is not interested in that. They only want to help other people. And if you have Vaishnava leaders, then the situation is better. And even within our movement, there are different standards. There's nothing perfect in this world. I was in the room when Prabhupada left. I was looking at his face when he left his world. There's no way to leave the body comfortably He set the perfect example. He chanted Hare Krishna and he was so tolerant. And right to the last day or 2 days, he was still, translating and commenting. Yes, you could barely hear his voice, and they would put the dictaphone right here. In the last purports, in the 10th canto, 13th chapter, which is the last chapter he did, the purports were so crystal clear that they didn't need hardly any editing. Yeah. I'm just in the middle of reading a book called Swami in a Strange Land by my godbrother. You got it? I mean, it is like, it's world-class description of Prabhupada. Yeah. So just keep hearing and keep trying to assimilate, and gradually, by the opening of the spiritual vision through this knowledge, you'll be able to see the world for what it is. You'll be able to see what's right and what's wrong and act properly, and then you'll be protected from all of that. You can't avoid it altogether, but you will be protected so much. Okay, that's it, folks. I got to preserve my voice because I got to record tomorrow morning, and it's Kaddishi, and I got to chant 64 rounds also. So,
Pre-recording one?
yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you, everyone out in cyberspace. Thank you for coming to hear Bhagavad-gita every day. And please keep up the good work and keep this hearing and chanting going on. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.